Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss one interesting topic of Java that is called exception. So we'll be discussing what is exception, what is error, what's the difference between these two, then how we can use try catch and finally block, how we can throw exceptions in Java, and then we'll see some custom exception handling approaches in Java. So let's discuss what is exception and what is error. Exception are those things that we can handle programmatically. But what is error? Error is something severe that happened in the program, and because of that the application will crash. So we cannot handle error. So when I'll be giving you some real example by running some program, then you will see like what's the difference between these two. So there are two types of exception. One is called checked exceptions, another one is called unchecked exceptions. So what are the example of checked exceptions? So let's say if we have like SQL exception, IO exception, class not found exception, this is what we can consider as checked exception. And what are unchecked exception? Arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, array index, out of bound exception, and so on. So the main difference between checked exception and unchecked exception: checked exception we can catch during the compile time of the program, but unchecked exception happens when we are running the program. So during the runtime we can see unchecked exception. Now let me run some example using our IDE and we'll see how we can use exception in Java code. So here you can see I created a package called exception. I created a few classes here, but let me open this exception example class first. So here you see we have exception example class, we have a main method, and what we are trying to do here, we are trying to divide 121 by 0, right? And we put this thing inside try block. If something happens over here, then we'll be catching that exception and printing over here. So this is how we can use try catch block to handle the exception. And here you can see a finally block. So what finally block is doing, whatever is happening here, no matter what, whether it throws an exception or not, it will be executing the statement inside this finally block. So why we need finally block? We could have a situation, let's say we just want to do garbage collection, or we want to do some specific operation, no matter what, whether we are having exceptions or not, we just want to execute that block. So that's why we can use like a finally block, and this is the general statement. It will be executing anyway. So let me run this program and let's see what is the output coming here. So if we run it, here you see this is what is executing first, because we are trying to dividing 121 by 0. That is not possible, so number should not be dividing by 0. This is the message coming from exception catch block, and then it is coming here inside the finally block, and then this is a general output statement. So let's say we are dividing this 121 by 1, for example, then it shouldn't throw any exception, right? So this message shouldn't be there. So if we run it here, so you can see it is printing this number from this output statement, and it is executing this finally block and this output statement. So if we comment out this finally block, then it is not going to execute that one for sure. So yeah, this one and this one. But let's say if we want to use this, in that case I already showed you, it doesn't matter whether we have exception or no exception, always this block will be executing, right? So I think this is clear to you guys. Now let's discuss some custom exceptions. So before discussing this custom exception, let me give you the background why we need a customized exception. So let's say when we'll be building some application that is doing like many different things, a bigger application, right? So sometimes it would be hard to identify like what caused the specific problems or errors or exceptions. So just to identify those issues properly, we can create some customized exceptions so that we can easily identify what caused these issues or specific issues, right? So here you see I created two different class. One is called invalid product exception. This is actually extending exception. This exception class is the parent class or any kind of exception in Java. And here you see we have a class called custom exception. So what actually this class is doing, so we have a main method over here. We are actually creating an object of custom exception class, and we are setting some values, I mean passing some values that is calling this product check, right? So when we are passing this value to product check, it is comparing if the weight is less than 100, then it will be throwing an invalid product code exception. So what does this mean? So it will be throwing an exception. It will be coming over here. It will be saying okay, got the exception, and then it will be printing the exception message that will be showing it from here. So let me run this program. Here you can see as we are passing 20, so this will throw an exception from here. When it will be throwing an exception from here, then it will be coming to this catch block. Inside this catch block, we have got the exception message first, and then it will be executing this statement where it will be showing the exception message, so which is this one. So let's say if we are passing something greater than 100, then what is the output here? If we pass something greater than 100, then it will not be throwing any exception, rather it will be printing everything looks good. So this is how we can actually use custom exception. I hope that was helpful. So let's go back to our lesson. So what we discussed in this lesson so far, so this was a short a lesson. We discussed how we can use try catch final block and how we can throw exceptions and how we can use custom exception in Java, and also discuss what's the difference between exception and error. Thank you so much.